Hello and welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Whether,
Hello.
whether you're here live or watching the replay later, we are so excited that you've taken time out of your day to join us. So thank you. This is the first edition of Signals in Customer Lifecycles, which is our new quarterly series where we're going to be distilling everything that we're seeing and hearing from our conversations with CEOs, CS leaders, investors, and operators, and delivering it to you in a nice condensed 30-minute executive download. So this is the first time we've done it. We're super excited, and yeah, let's get going. Sabina, would you like to just say a few words, introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. My name is Sabina, and I am the CEO and COO of Growth Molecules. I'm coming to you live from Southern California, where I'm in a real office. The office is real, the plant is fake, calling it out now. But I'm glad to be here, have a career in customer success and in tech. You can check out my LinkedIn profile right where we are now. So I'm not going to go into a bunch of that stuff, but I'm glad to be here. It's our first time on LinkedIn Live, so feedback is always welcome. How about you, James?
Yeah, we love feedback. Yes, so thank you. My name's James Scott. I'm head of advisory services here at Growth Molecules. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I'm on the East Coast, though originally, obviously, from Europe. So I'm super excited. I think we've just got so much to share with you today. Sabina and I actually we have the good fortune through our work with Growth Molecules to speak to many different customer success practitioners around the nation and globally. And it actually occurred to us, we were out in Las Vegas about a month ago at the Gainsight Pulse event, and we were reflecting at the end of a hard day. We were sitting reflecting on everything we'd heard and all the conversations we'd had and all the great insight that we'd gained from those conversations. And we thought, it's kind of a shame that we can't share some of this insight with more people, because we've both been practitioners. We've both been in the hot seat running customer success organizations. And sometimes it can feel like kind of a lonely job, right? And it's hard to know if we're doing everything right. It's hard to know if we've got blind spots. Are we missing things that we should be doing that others are thinking about or working on? And so a lot of the time when we're having conversations with other leaders, we're sharing the insights that we're hearing from the market. And we thought, well, why don't we try and do this in a sort of a more one-to-many format and do a LinkedIn Live event? So that's why we're here.
And what James is leaving out is the spirit of how this came to be becomes a little bit more of a good idea after you've had some really good old fashions, or in his case, donned a sparkling green game show host apparel as he did for his session. It became iconic walking down the Las Vegas Strip. I felt like a celebrity in his presence because everybody stopped him. But on that note, it's been, as James mentioned, a really interesting time with the acceleration of AI, and it wouldn't be a tech-related industry call if that topic didn't come up, but it's naturally prevalent in everything that we're doing, both as practitioners, as consultants in our case, even as consumers out in our roles as parents and as just people navigating society. We literally hear it on every single call with our customers and our prospects and our peers and partners. And it's scary, it's overwhelming, because it's constantly changing. And so it's like that question of, is it an ally or is it an adversary? We hear those headlines that customer success is dead. We hear, Mark Benioff talking about reduction in force. We talk about some of these large companies that are already planning for not only a reduction in headcount, but also a pivot. There's new roles that are emerging, right? The chief AI officer is a new role. There's people allocating whole managerial roles and subject matter expert roles to own AI across the business, to not only look at how they're leveraging it in their cross-functional day-to-day process flows and using it to mine key insights and data, but they're also using it to think about their own product offerings and service offerings to their end customers. The thing that really stuck with me yesterday, actually, was a post that Nick Mehta from Gainsight had, and then the CEO of one of our partners, actually Guide CX, Peter Ord, posted this comment. I'm going to actually pull it up here so I don't make a mistake. I'm quoting it because it was really honestly pretty interesting. He said, encapsulated it best. He said that we're headed towards juggling alternate realities and quantum possibilities. It's like playing chess while your opponent's pieces keep teleporting and your board's rewriting its own rules. And basically, it's this concept of we get the feeling, we know what it is, and it starts to change and it starts to pivot. And so AI is really redefining not only the execution and then the organizational design. And some teams are reacting, really tactically, and others are rethinking roles altogether. So the best thing I think that teams can do, and I know, James, you can speak to this a little bit too, what we're seeing with our customers is experimentation, right? Trying things. It doesn't need to be this big, huge company initiative. It can literally be 2 CSMs on your team trying something a little bit different. And as a leader, what you can do is making sure that you're acknowledging the feeling that they're having potentially. They're going to be replaced. And, another thing I learned this week from a conversation actually this morning was Nikki Bishop from Emerson. She said that AI, remember what AI stands for, right? It's artificial intelligence. And the piece that we bring as humans, regardless of our role of sales or customer success or finance or support, is the authentic piece. So authentic intelligence is that other layer. And so as a leader, driving these uncertain times with your teams, I think being thoughtful about, micro testing, micro piloting, looking at things on that level, and then also keeping the human piece of it in mind and helping them navigate that, because we enable them and we help them learn how to be, AI forward, help them take it in bite-sized pieces and reassure them that there's definitely going to be a place such that we're able to grow with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one thing is true, and AI has kind of, I think, brought this to the forefront, is that we're in a period of really fast change right now. The industry, the overriding theme for customer success in general is that the industry is in flux. And I think it's the fastest rate of change. And I know this applies outside customer success, but within customer success already, this was underway before AI really accelerated things. I think the pace of change is at a level that it hasn't been since CS was first founded. And literally, we were all trying to just every day define what this new discipline was and work out how to do it. And I think we kind of settled into a little bit of maybe not steady state, but the pace of change slowed down for a number of years. But right now, there's this urgency to stay educated, to stay curious. We're revisiting fundamentals like what is customer success in 2025 and beyond, right? There's just a ton of disruption. So I think as a leader, if you're feeling unsettled right now, I guess you're not alone. I want you to know that everybody is feeling like that right now. There's just a lot of uncertainty, a lot of questions that don't have really clear answers. And there's a lot of change. And we know change makes everybody uncomfortable, not just members of the team, of your teams, but also, leaders themselves, right? Because you've got these kind of big decisions to make, and these are kind of high stakes decisions about where you invest and where you prioritize your team and your focus. So change is unsettling. It's a risk, but it's also an opportunity. And I think that's what gets me out of bed every morning, right? Everything's just changing fast, and there's just so much opportunity to rethink, maybe reverse some of the things that we've done one way that maybe we should have done them another way from the beginning. It's our opportunity to, go back to some of the fundamentals of what is customer success, what are we trying to achieve, and given the landscape that that's around us now, what is the right way of approaching it? So that excites me. I don't know about you, Sabina.
Yeah, no, it is scary, but that's one in our DNA working in tech. Things are changing. I remember when I first got to Mavenlink, now Cantata, back in 2016, I'd come from an organization where we had quarterly releases. So we had plenty of time to look through all the user stories and plan out all the business implications and help our customers configure differently, did webinars, really hand-holding, spoon-feeding because we could. And then when I got to Mavenlink, I learned about pair coding, and it was like a really newish thing at the time. And I learned about near real-time releases. We're like releasing code every day, all day, and doing, batch fixes quickly. And that was a strange concept. And I couldn't possibly understand how the rest of us could operate and supporting. At the end of the day, we're a software company, and all of our roles are in support of our customers consuming and using that software. How could we best support them if we don't know what's going on? So we established SOPs, and what was once really scary became normal and routine. And any of us now know, yes, of course, on our personal devices, Apple pushes out a big major OS update on our laptops or our phones. You have some notes, but there's other things that are happening behind the scenes constantly in all facets of our life. And as you're talking, James, about the change, and yes, it can be scary. It's not only the pace, but it's also the transformational significance. I don't want to say people have a right to be scared, but they have a right to be awake. There's a right, and it's important to be focused. This to me is as transformational right now as was the internet. And within just a few years of it being generally available, if you didn't have a website as a business, you were nobody, really, right? You weren't legitimate anymore. And then, deployment of e-commerce and all that stuff came soon thereafter. But it was so confusing to me to think about, early in my career, my boss had a BlackBerry, and he would dock it on a station next to his PC that was a desktop, by the way, that had a cable that then allowed the email to get uploaded to his Microsoft Outlook account. And it took about 10 minutes. And so then he could download emails as well, so that when he left the office and he was in a car or on a plane, he could read the emails. He couldn't respond to them. He could tee them up, but until he docked again, they wouldn't fire off and send. We also, at that time, were still using fax. I'm not that old. I'm in my 40s. So we were still using fax to primarily communicate. Email attachments couldn't be supported because the file size couldn't process. We still did inter-office mail, the yellow envelopes. Some people who are listening in have no idea what I'm talking about, probably. But it was a yellow envelope, and you put whatever memo, a physical memorandum in the envelope. You wrote what department it has to go to, and then you did a string thing on top and put it in with the mail guy, and the mail guy would take his little cart and go to the next department in the business and drop off the envelope. Thinking about that to then, just a few years later, that we have email, we are not doing fax anymore. No one even owns a fax machine anymore, I don't think, unless you're in maybe healthcare. And it's part of our DNA now. And this is the same type of change that AI is bringing to us. And we can look at history. We can look at the different times that revolutionized the way that things are done. And, you can sit back and freak out about it. And, sorry to be blunt, but you can stress and be scared and think it's just a phase. It's not a phase, right? This is going forward, and we're here for it. And that's why we're having these conversations. No one has it figured out. We welcome comments, we welcome insights. If there's other webinars or newsletters, events to go to, we all need to be soaking it up, because we're also seemingly shaping its future together.
Yeah. I love that last point. Yeah, just to be really clear, Sabina and I do not know all the answers to AI. We are trying to figure it out at the same time as you all are. And I think the way that we're doing that is just trying to, you can drive yourself crazy trying to listen to every webinar and go to read everything you see, because there's a lot of noise out there. And it can be tempting to kind of disengage and say, well, come back to that when everyone else has worked it out. I think the right answer is somewhere in between. And so, just trying to stay connected. We're doing an event here in Atlanta actually tonight, where we're getting a whole group of customer success leaders together to workshop some AI prompts and just learn from each other. And I think that this is where kind of community and network can really help, right? Learn from your colleagues and your peers in other organizations, and try and you're all going to kind of help each other. It's not, no one person is going to be the expert anytime soon. So, and one of the things I hear a lot, just to kind of start to wrap up the AI topic, because I know it could easily be all we talk about for the whole LinkedIn Live. I think one of the things I definitely picked up on as a struggle around AI is not just the operationalization and where it fits into the process and the workflows, but it's also where it fits into the tech stack. A lot of AI solutions that have been released have been sort of AI enablement of existing point solutions, right? So if you use a customer success platform, now there's an AI component built into that. If you use a CRM, now there's an AI built into that. The problem with that, or the trade-off with that, is that your customer lifecycle really goes across, it really is a horizontal journey, right? Across all these departments. And so where you've got AI kind of working in silos within a solution that's geared towards a particular department, it can miss that wider perspective on your customer journey and the ability to learn from all the customer touch points, whether it's pre-sales to post-sales, support versus marketing, etc. So I think that's something as an organization I hear leaders pondering around, like, what is the right investment in AI in our tech stack? Where does it fit in? I don't, at a time where the budgets are being constrained more generally, right, because of the macroeconomic pressures, the idea of like buying more software, more AI type software is a tough pill to swallow. So a lot of people are kind of making do with what comes built into their existing solutions, but I wonder whether that's going to be the right solution in the long run. We shall see. AI obviously relies so much on data, and if your data's in silos, then AI is going to be somewhat constrained in terms of the impact it can have in understanding your customers and their holistic journey with you. So much to think about, so much more to talk about. We'd love to hear your comments, by the way, so please post. If you're in LinkedIn, you can post in LinkedIn, and we'll do our best to address some of them while we're on the event today, but we'll certainly follow up with any that we can't get to.
James, I know we've been hearing a lot more around, the value narrative, and it seemingly has been at the forefront of the spirit and the mission of the function of customer success, the philosophy of it across an organizational mission to nurture customers. But I think it's really come back up again a lot. And, from my perspective, I think about ROI as a calculation. We want our customers to see the ROI and sales motions. We're capturing benchmark data for that customer or current state telemetry data for that customer business performance. So then we can show the actual calculation of the improvements that were delivered by the product or service that you're providing to show that return on investment, ROI. But the other key piece of all this also is how they feel from that. And are they getting the business objectives that they had sought to achieve? Just because the numbers may show that, was it really bumpy and horrible ride to get there? I'm not sure. So I know that you've experienced some of this with our customers and that value narrative. I'd love to hear, I think the team hear that too.
Yeah, I love this topic because it really is the DNA of customer success. And we have talked about it, right, for decades now, over a decade, but we still aren't particularly good at doing it, right? To be frank, right? As an industry, we're still not great at defining value, measuring value, and demonstrating value back to customers. And even demonstrating value back internally within our organizations to show the impact of the customer success organization. So yeah, it's been something that has been bubbling in the background for a long time. And I think with this renewed focus on the impact and ROI of customer success in general within an organization, that has put pressure on organizations to get better at talking about value, both internally and with their customers. And I think that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. It's become elevated, I'd say, to a C-suite level. It's not just something that the customer success team worries about. It's now something that we see more and more CEOs and C-suite thinking about. How do we talk about this? How do we market value? How do we sell value? How do we deliver value? How do we demonstrate and articulate value success stories to drive net new leads more efficiently back into the business? So I think that's all good, right? We're moving in the right direction. And we saw value come up. I've been at a TSIA World in Orlando back in April. Been to a Success Lab event here in Atlanta more recently. Value was front and center of the conversation and the presentations that were happening. And what's kind of interesting, and I'm excited about personally, because operationalizing it is really what gets me excited. I think you can talk about the theory, but unless you can make it happen in practice, then it stays just theory. What I'm excited personally about is that there's more technology solutions emerging to help solve this problem, to help teams or companies to put some structure around their value management program. So to help them define value more clearly, and what are the use cases that different personas within their stakeholder, within their target companies are using their product to do. And then how are we measuring how effective we are at delivering on those use cases for customers, and actually not just what do we think, but how do we give customers input into that. How do we solicit their sentiment in a way that's quantifiable rather than just qualitative? And that is exciting to me, to see actually tools and technology emerging to help with this, because I think that's needed to really enable us to turn this into something we can do at scale, not just something we do with our big accounts, right? Which I think has been the fallback in previous years. Like, we can do this with our top accounts because we're talking to them and we can have these sort of conversations around value, but maybe we can't do it for our mid-touch and our smaller customers because we just don't talk to them in that way. We're going to need technology to help us do that at scale. And I think there's options now that are out there in the market that are still quite nascent, but we'll see how they emerge over the coming months and years.
And I think to that point, when we think about the beginning of our conversation here today, and thinking about AI and being tech forward, and then this value conversation and having tools to help enable and drive more efficiencies at demonstrating the qualitative and quantitative pieces for our customers, it kind of leads back into the other term that came out and was this hot topic and then kind of went away and is now back up again, which is around digital motions for customers. Yeah. That's never technically gone away, but in terms of the buzzword, we've had a lot more of the AI conversation recently, and what does it mean for staffing? I think you said this to a client recently, James, where we didn't do ourselves any favors by naming our department customer success. It's confusing to people, right? Going back to, is it a philosophy? Is it a function area? It's changing, and that's okay. Like, I don't frankly care what we call it. The spirit of keeping the customers that you've worked so hard to capture is paramount for any industry, whether you're B2B, business to business, business to customer, if you're in pure play SaaS, if you're in tech with hardware, it doesn't matter. And it's very expensive to keep or to acquire. So keeping them, and goes back into that. How do you do that then in an efficient fashion? How do you drive that value, demonstrate that value? And so I think thinking about the history of what we've learned over the last 5 to 10 years about being able to leverage digital first. It's not just that digital is for your smallest customers. When we launched that in my past roles, and it's fractional CCOs and otherwise, we would take that lowest segment of your customer base, and in some worlds, those were the original customers companies may have had. They're trying to figure out product market fit and the pricing, and you're just happy to get a customer. Like, let's be honest, like you have a new product, you're like, all right, you want to pay me for it? I'll bring it. Let's bring it on. Over time, you get more sophisticated about what that ideal customer is, where they're going to have the most value received. And so there are cases where we have launched those digital programs for the non-ideal use case customers. But as a lot of well-known enterprise companies have deployed these digital motions across all layers of their customer base. And I think that's where we can really be thoughtful about that AI narrative, about the value narrative, and actually having the data to calculate and demonstrate the ROI in a dynamic way on a per customer basis, which then also leads to the pieces that AI will help us with is these micro adjustments in a customer's journey, that when we do journey mapping in our workshops, we're looking at maybe 1 or 2 product lines or major segments, and looking at the common level of service that each customer should receive at a bare minimum. But then when we talk about these deviations, we now have the data and the systems and tools to help us digitally customize and curate without really the heavy lifting is on the upfront, on the configuration in the beginning. If it looks like this, it behaves like this, then if this happens, do this. That allows a CSM to be even more white glove than ever, because they now have that telemetry data and can cover more things where AI can't, right? That's where that authentic piece comes in versus just the artificial piece. So those are some of the thoughts swirling in my head about that, James. But I know you.
Yeah, I mean, I love that, and you said it. I want to say it again because it's really important. We've gone from like digital touch as a segment to digital first as a model that works across segments. Because even your biggest customers, and might be one customer, but they might have hundreds of end users in there, right? And even those end users are so used to doing things digitally, they don't want to have a conversation. They don't want to have a white glove service for every type of interaction. There's certain things that they're quite happy to get via email or via in-app messaging or some other type of medium. So yes, we're seeing organizations now think about digital as a layer that takes the heavy lifting, takes some of the more sort of repetitive work or the things that don't require a human, takes it off the plate of their team, of the humans on the team, so that the humans can do what humans do best. Empathy, building relationships, asking the deeper questions to really get at intent and
advocacy, right? Like when your customer needs something, like you're their internal champion. Like you can go advocate for them if there's a huge, feature need, and you're helping to quantify why your portfolio of customers is hearing this or saying this. There's just different pieces that we're going to do. Sorry to interrupt. But
really interesting as well is that how the impact this is having on org design and hiring. Leading orgs now, leading organizations are saying, before we hire another CSM, do we need a different type of hire on the team, type of role? So we're actually seeing new job titles and roles being emerging, things like GTM engineer, product success, which I love, like somebody who's just laser focused on a particular product line and measuring and driving outcomes for people using that product, at scale. So there's just so many different types of role and organizational changes that are happening right now. And what is kind of a prerequisite for this is that an organization has a clear blueprint for what their ideal journey looks like, which I think is why we're seeing more people do these customer journey mapping exercises now, so they can all align on what is the ideal journey we're trying to create, the ideal experience, and then where can we layer in digital to really help do that at scale, and what are the things that then the humans on the team need to, the CSMs and others need to do as part of that overall ideal experience. So all good stuff. I mean, so much good stuff going on right now in the market. And as I said, it's exciting for us to get a chance to talk to so many companies as they try and work this out. We would love to hear more from you about the sort of challenges you're facing or the decisions that you're trying to make right now. And we're nearly halfway through the year, which is kind of hard to believe. So what are your areas of focus for the rest of the year? Are there some of the topics that we've talked about today, things that you're discussing within your organizations, or something else that we haven't talked about? We'd love to hear from you. And we actually do offer a weekly email update that comes out from Growth Molecules every week, where we share some of our most recent insights. So if you do want to have access to that, then please sign up. I think there's a link that's in the chat. Make sure that you sign up for that, and you'll get sort of kind of updates in between our quarterly LinkedIn lives. But we're planning to be back in 3 months from now, Sabina.
Yep, let's aim for September. It's my birthday month, so we're going to bring it. And I think it's been really great for us to get to do this. Feedback welcome. It's our first time doing LinkedIn Live. So thank you to everybody who's joined us. We are learning and growing with you. We're here for it, and we hope to see you next time.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.